The Modern Age was a historic period that begins with the discovery of America in 1492 by Christopher Columbus, ends with the French Revolution in 1789. Cultural changes. The invention of the printer in 1440 by Johann Gutenberg was a big event because it made it easier to access to knowledge via books, which resulted in more educated and conscientious citizens. Change in mentality. The humanism was a kind of thought that believed humans are center of the universe instead of God. The integration of human ethics. Navigation changes. New inventions such as the compass, the improvements in the maps, new ships that are faster and with greater capacity such as caravels with facility navigation. The Catholic kings. They were the first example in Spain of the authoritarian monarchy. Elizabeth I of Castile and Ferdinand II of Aragon, when they married, joined the crowns of the two most important kingdoms of the peninsula, Castile and Aragon. They ruled together although each kingdom retained its own laws, institutions, currents. There was no unification of kingdoms. 3rd of August, 1492, an expedition led by Christopher Columbus and financed by the King and Queen of Spain departed from Portopalos, Huelva, south coast, with the purpose of finding a faster route to India. On 12th of October of that same year, they landed at an island, the Bahamas, called Guanahani, in America. This was the European discovery of America, where they built several colonies and got wealthier thanks to all the resources the colonies provided, like precious metals and new crops. The economy suffered a big change. Capitalism was born, and the first stock market appeared.
Spain in the 16th century. The 16th century is characterized in Spain by the reign of two kings, Charles I and Philip II, who belonged to the dynasty family of the Habsburgs. They became known as Habsburgs because Maximilian, the grandfather of Charles I, was emperor in this country. Under his reign, Spain became the most powerful empire in the world known then. Charles I. Son of Juana I, daughter of the Catholic monarchs known as Juana la Loca, and Philip I, son of Maximilian, Emperor of Austria, and known as Philip el Hermoso. Before the illness of his mother and the death of his father, Charles will inherit a huge empire. During his reign, Charles I had to face wars and struggles inside and outside Spain. At the end of his life, after so many struggles, he will divide his great empire in two. The territories of Europe will be given to his brother Fernando, and those of America and Spain to his son Philip II. Philip II. He will reign in the second half of the 16th century. During his reign, he will also annex Portugal, which is inherited by his mother. It was who set the capital of the kingdom in Madrid. Just like his father, he strongly defended Catholicism, and his life was full of struggles with different countries in Europe that wanted to rival him for Spanish power. Because of these wars, Spain gradually became impoverished. Much of the gold and American silver was spent paying these fights. The minor Habsburgs. The last three representatives of this dynasty in Spain are known as minor Habsburgs. Philip III from 1598 to 1621, Philip IV from 1621 to 1665, and Charles II from 1675 to 1700. The long stage that these monarchs represent, more than 100 years, is of a long and agonizing decline of Hispanic monarchy, mainly because of their foreign wars, which consumed the entire treasury and ruined the country, and also because of internal conflicts, especially since Philip IV. The Renaissance, taste for straight lines, measure, cult for beauty and the human body. Charles V Palace. The origin of the palace of Charles V was due to the need for a place that gathered all the comforts of the time for the emperor and his family, since the Alcázar, which was his summer residence, did not meet his needs.
Bad crops, wars, plague and emigration to America produced a demographic and economic crisis. The most affected were the lower classes. The successors of Philip II were very weak kings who did not deal with the empire and left everything in the hand of helpers, who were called bullied. Golden Century. The end of the Habsburgs in art and culture, however, This is a century with a great splendor that is known as the Golden Century of Spanish culture. It's the moment when many of our greatest artists emigrate. Painters like Velázquez, Murillo, writers like Calderón de la Barca, Quevedo. The 18th century marks the beginning of a new dynasty on the throne of Spain, the Bourbons. The first Bourbon will be Philip V, who fought against the supporters of the Austrian house candidate in the War of Succession. Despite everything, the Bourbons carried out a series of reforms to modernize Spain and society based on illustration. The 18th century cultural movement that defended culture, science, and progress. The 18th century became known as the century of enlightenment.